Greetings and welcome to PinballHelp. Mike here. Work continues on this new acquisition. This is a 1979 Williams Flash machine that came to me in pretty good condition but still had some issues, wasn't working right. So I've done a little bit of work on it and I'll bring you up to speed on what I've done and what I found out. You'll see the back glass is missing. I've got that being triple thicked in the back and that's all basically done. I've also cleaned the playfield and waxed it up so it kind of looks pretty nice right now. Let me put a little more light in here in the room so you can see it. Pretty nice. Some of these inserts here are rising a little bit, and I'm going to do some research into the best way of dealing with them. Some of the inserts are sunk here too, but there's very little wear around them. There's a few little wear spots. You can see one right there. The biggest wear spot's right here where the ball comes out. This has been patched up a little bit. But all in all, the game is in really, really good condition. The stickers kind of came off from the drop targets. Let's turn it on. I had a problem with the soundboard. Well, I'll tell you what, before I turn it on, let's lift the thing up and I'll show you what I've worked on. Okay. So here's the inside of the cabinet. The knocker coil was right there, and it was completely fried. I replaced it with a new coil, but the coil sleeve I have is the wrong type, so I'm going to have to pick up a different coil sleeve so it'll fit properly in the mounting bracket. So for now, it's kind of just hanging there. Soundboard was not working. I replaced all the caps in it. I also replaced the large cap here, which was a 12K microfarad cap, and I put a 15K in there. And I asked all around whether or not it was advisable to do this, and nobody really knew, to be honest. But I pulled the cap and put a meter on it to register it, and it was reading at 19,000 microfarads. So I thought, well, if that's within normal tolerance, I can drop in a 15. And the reason why I put a 15K in here instead of the 10 is because I didn't have one, basically. But I had a lot of 15s because 15s are a standard one in WPC power supplies. So I threw it in, and it works fine. It works fine. I had somebody who was a more experienced electrical engineer look at the schematic and said, oh, it's just for conditioning the power, so it shouldn't be too much trouble. There's not a lot of stress on it. But obviously, the board's 30 years old, so I replaced all these caps, and I had most of them in stock, so everything kind of worked out, except for that one. So you can put a 15K in there. At least it worked for me. Hopefully, it might work for other people, but all I can speak for is myself. So I got the sound card working. It was completely dead. Here is the previous burned up coil. Look at that crunch, crunch, crunch. Oh, you know what? Now, see, I don't think I can get this sleeve. The sleeve is like melted into the thing, so I can't pull this sleeve out of here. So I'll have to get another coil sleeve. So everything seems to be working. There's some odd stuff. You know, when you see a little charring like that, you wonder what's up with that. But this thing does work. Does not seem to, no problems there. This pop bumper thing is not resetting. So let me go through the standard ways in which you test to see whether or not you got a problem with a coil. So while I got the machine open, I'm going to turn it on. Bam. You see, everything comes to life. And hold on, I'm going to grab my little clips. So here's one quick way you can test to see if a coil, if the coil is bad. First, you should put a meter on it to do a reading on it. You want to check, you see this wire, it's a gray wire with a yellow thing on it. So I checked continuity from this all the way up to the thing and measured it. And I should probably talk about how you can check continuity, because it's not always easy unless you cut a wire off. But I'm going to take my little alligator clip and I'm going to clip one side to the rail here in the game. And I'm going to take the other side, and you see how on the coil there's a heavy side with this heavy gauge wire right here, and then on the other side there's the actual color wire. This is the main power feed right here. It's daisy chained to all the things. So about 20-30 volts DC is running through that at all times, and the driver board shorts this thing to ground, or grounds it, not shorts it, and that's what allows the power to flow through it to energize it. We can simulate what would happen if the driver triggered it by grounding this other lug here. And if you look down, you can see the diode on there. And you'll see the band is always pointing towards the lug where the power feed comes from. Come on, get in focus. Let's see if I can zoom in. Come on. Might be too close. Sorry. Anyway, there's a diode there and the band is on the right side. This is where the power feed is. So if we take our grounded thing and we touch it to the other side right there, it should fire the thing. So let's see. See that? Like that. So we know the coil's working. We know that there's power run to it. So for some reason it's not triggering. It's not triggering somewhere off of the main board. So that's when you begin to start checking stuff in the head of the machine. After you've verified that this line here, there is continuity from it all the way up to the top. So, okay, let's put the thing down. So give me a second here. I'm going to turn the machine off, and I'm going to undo that. Drop this head down. Yes, nice and gentle. There we go. Okay, so I'll turn the game back on down here. All right. So there's our game. The flashers were out. There's 2 flashers in here. And one of the bulbs was good, one of the bulbs was bad, which kind of confused me initially, but then I realized, neither one of them were working, is they were wired in parallel. I think that's the proper term. They were wired in parallel, so if one of them went out, it broke the circuit, so it couldn't do. It's kind of an interesting, odd design. So there's 2 flash bulbs in there. If one of them dies, then the whole flash thing goes out. Not the way I would do it, but obviously, one goes out, you should replace it. So let's start a game. I'll show you the sound. This game had really interesting sound. And I've enabled the ambient background sound, so that's what you get here. So when we drop these targets down, see how it gets up higher in pitch? Now, when I drop this one, the flash should go off. And it relit this. These guys, I'll show you what got a problem. Does not get reset up. Don't know why. So there's definitely a problem with that. Now what happened there was when I hit the flipper button, it actually triggered one of these switches in here as if the targets had been dropped down again because they're all up again. They're not up. Okay. Kind of an anemic flipper there. And then this guy, not working at all. So we have one flipper that's completely dead and one that's kind of anemic. So I'm going to be playing around with that. See if I can figure out what's wrong. Other than that, the game seems to be working nicely. We have one display that's out, and it's different from the others, so I don't know if one of them went out and they just stuck this in here. I'll do a little bit more research, but that's no big deal. Okay, let's shut this game off. Alright, now, so where I'm at is had to find out, trace the wire from the coil that resets this bank all the way up into this box. And I discovered that you can kind of look at the colors and try to find it up here too, but it was this second wire here, this gray with the yellow on it. Okay. Now another way you can do is you can, I'll show you. Take a look at your coil solenoid list. This is where we're having the original Documentation's really good. So this is our solenoid number. So we know solenoid number 4 is the 3-bank drop target reset. We go down here and we see the left kicker is solenoid number 21. So we know solenoid number 4 and number 21. So now let's run to the schematics, take a look at the schematics. So here's a schematic of the driver board. And we look right here, and connector J2J11 is the solenoid drivers, and we see that number 4 is the second one on this connector, which matches up with the color code we're looking at. We look up here, and the special solenoids is 21, so that's that right there. So now we got to find where's the driver transistors for these guys. Okay, here we go. This shows which drivers are for what solenoid. So for solenoid number 4, we know it's this one right here, Q21 and Q20. So that's the pre-driver and then the main driver. Now up here for the special solenoids, on the schematics they're numbered from 1 to 6. But in the game they're 17 to 21. So you got main solenoids 1 to 16, and then the special ones are the other 6. So here number 1 is number 17. So I kind of added some notes here so that number 22 is solenoid number 3, which is this one right down here. So that's my left kicker one, and then this one right here is the reset bank. Okay, so knowing where that is, I pull out my meter and I go over here to the actual driver board, and I've already marked it. See, that's the one right there for the drop target reset, and then there's the kicker one right up there. So I put a meter on these and checked them in circuit, and it looks like there may be a problem with the smaller pre-driver transistor. It's very odd that that one would go out without taking out the larger one. So I don't know exactly what's happened. If there may be some other thing wrong, or this went out and somebody repaired the bigger one and left the little one in, and then they kind of half repaired and didn't fix the problem. I really won't know until I do a little bit more digging. I hate to pull this board off because it has this interconnector right here which connects the driver board to the CPU board, and it's notoriously problematic, so I'm not looking forward to separating this. Every time you separate it, you increase the likelihood that you can crack solder joints and mess up the connection. And when this thing goes, all kinds of weird things happen. So I'm trying to avoid that. But it looks like I'm probably going to have to pull the board out and look at those transistors to see what the problem is. So that's where I'm at right now. Almost everything else is fixed. If I can get those 2 solenoids working, the game will be perfect. So stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful. Visit the website pinballhelp.com. Thanks.